And wow, I just had an eargasm right there, folks. So, welcome to the Sloppy Syndicate show. We have none other than Troy, the reality of yourself in the green room, and we have a certified rock star backstage. So, we'll get into that a little bit. Plays with Shaman's Harvest. I'm sure you all know of Shaman's Harvest. As we'll talk a little bit about that, shoot the shit, and get to know Troy, the reality of yourself. So, without further ado, let's bring Cord and Eric on.
What is up?
Hey,
What's going on,
What is
Donnie?
up? How are we doing?
Pretty good, man.
pretty good.
It's a pleasure to have you guys on the show. So we are streaming live on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. So folks in the chat, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to throw them in there. We will shoot them to, we'll shoot it out and get the band to answer it. And hit that like button for us, follow. And if you are listening into the future on the podcast, it is much appreciated. So yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself and the band Troy.
Oh man, we've been a band for a minute. We kind of based ourselves out of Missouri. I'm Cord Bishop, the singer and guitar player.
I'm Eric, the drummer, and the good-looking one, of course.
And we're down to today. We've got two other guys with us. Kyle Egarth, who also is a gunslinging guitar player, and then longtime old best friend, kid I grew up with for a long time, Kane Ransom. So he's on bass. And through that, we've had a few other members through the years, but that's our current awesome lineup. It's been that way for several years now. And mainly, we're just about writing good music and putting on good live rock shows. That's kind of, we all love that. So.
And you started back in 2012 with the reality of yourself, and you had a sneak peek of the newest release that just came out this year, and that's The Last of the Brigade. So what is the significance, because there's some powerful lyrics in that. Is there any significance in that song for you guys, or how did you guys come about and write that?
Yeah, for me, there's a lot of cool, significant stuff in there. I'll say, I was sitting at home one night on my acoustic and I kind of came across this little medley. And I was like, man, this is kind of, haunting a little bit. I was playing it on acoustic guitar. And for some reason, this word brigade kept popping up. And so, I recorded it on my phone. And then I did just a bunch of reading and stuff. And I came across this like amazing recording that none other than Thomas Edison did. And it was of a poem by Lord Tennyson called The Charge of the Light Brigade, which was kind of part inspiration. It was kind of a patriotic rally the troops poem at the time. It was very politically based. I would akin it to the Star Spangled Banner on levels, but very powerful words. And for me, I look at the band and, what we do, any band out there, these guys and gals, they're soldiers for this music, for, trying to push forward, what is music and what it should be and shouldn't be. And so for me, I tended to get into this military-esque vibe with that, this charge of this brigade. And honestly, that's kind of where a lot of the theme of the song came from, with just this reoccurring melody, I guess you would call it a motif, maybe. That's really it, And then obviously it was like, how do we make this Troy? How do we, crush up the guitars, and bash some drums and put this whole vibe together? Which it occurred over a couple of years, really. Like it came together in a few different sessions in the studios. But
it was drum wise, it was probably the one that I was most worried about going into the studio. So we hit it first, and actually it was probably one of the smoother ones because we had just rehearsed it so many times going in, that the performance side of it was actually a lot better than I thought it would be, because it's got a lot of changes, a lot of double bass drum stuff, and it actually ended up going a lot smoother, and we were actually able to kind of mold it a little bit more in the studio than I thought we were going to be able to. So
yeah, and that's good for you because everyone blames the drummer. It's always the drummer's fault.
It's always my fault, and I'm okay with that.
So the band has a modern rock with a kind of like a vintage vibe, I guess you would say. So the best way, I'll let you guys describe it, but if you combine Aerosmith, Allman Brothers, and some Metallica, they went out on a drug-fueled orgy and had a baby. That's what you would get with Reality of Yourself. So am I
I'm
correct?
into that, man.
Yeah,
can you type that up and send it to me? Bio change.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
So, yes, they had one big cocaine-fueled orgy, and Troy was born. So here we are.
I'm okay with that.
And, so you've been in the scene for since 2012 with the band T.R.O.Y. And Cord plays with Shaman's Harvest as well. We all know Shaman's Harvest. Dirty Diana, by the way, is my favorite song.
Yeah, man, it rocks.
So Eric, do you play with any other bands or?
No, and not at the moment. I've been exclusively T.R.O.Y. for 7 years now.
Okay.
But we've been tight with the Shamans guys for a long time. They're only from a hop, skip, and a jump from here, so we played together quite a few times, and they're good hang. We always get along really well. So they needed some help, and we threw him in the fire. So
no, yeah, the guys are great guys too, and like he's saying, I've followed those guys a long time. And always admired the songwriting. I definitely wouldn't just be jumping off ship to go do this for anybody. I really admire what they do. Big fan of Nathan Hunt's voice and just, again, the songwriting in general. I feel like they're Missouri boys who are eclectic, and they get this thing, man, a little bit, and they don't want to be put in a shoebox of rock, which happens a lot with bands right now.
Right.
A lot of people find their formula, their mold, and stick in it, and they're just not that band, which has been refreshing to see. And of course, if I can learn anything from those dudes, I'm gonna apply it.
Yeah,
vicariously. Like I'll just bring that stuff home. I've already done a few things. It's like, hey, I'm changing my mix now because
that's really what I was gonna get at too. Is that it's all about us being humble about the fact that like we can always learn more from all of these dudes. These guys have been doing it forever, and we've been learning from them for ever since I've been in the band. So, I mean, there's only more that could come from that. With him actually going out on the road with them and meeting more people and putting T.R.O.Y. into more ears. So
yeah,
what could that hurt?
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of artists kind of get, and this is my opinion, folks, so don't take this to heart, if you are a musician and listening. But, I think sometimes some artists get stagnant and they're okay with where they're at. And obviously the music industry is ever changing. So if you don't, sometimes if you almost don't change with the industry, and you become old news type of thing. So you always got to keep up with the change. At the same time, keep doing, yourself and staying true to the music that you want to make. So,
man, that's so true. There's an authenticity, and even in the bands you mentioned, there's usually an authenticity that is the root of that band. And just like rock and roll has always been about using the latest thing to make the coolest sounds. Literally. We'll take anything from jazz to reggae to pop, and we'll throw it into rock and roll, and it's cool. Since the 60s, that's been going on. And so I don't see anything different with trying to use tools of today's modern age to try to make music. I think that's a blessing that rock and roll has, because we can kind of jump around and, feed the song, serve the song, whatever it may be. Whereas country, you're kind of slave to a system there that's a little more molded, and critiqued. Refined.
Right.
Yeah, and I have a lot of friends, in the countryside, of the industry, and they're, it's just kind of, it's so different than the rock world, or even, the different genres. So,
and there's some amazing songwriters out there too in the country world. Don't get me wrong. Again, being from Missouri, I grew up in a bluegrass family, so it's like, I love a lot of that stuff. But there. Again, when somebody's genuineness shines through, I think us as humanity all take note of that a little bit, and we're like, oh, that's kind of neat. That's a little different. Even if they're singing the same lick that was 40 years ago, or playing that same, they're doing it their way, which is cool to me.
It's not following the I don't know, the modern trend or whatever you want to call that. So
yeah.
And, is that a black top Mojo shirt you have on?
Yeah, man.
Okay, another good band.
Love those guys. I finally got to hang with those dudes a few weeks ago. They were playing here in town, and we've got some mutual friends, the guys in Shamans as well. And it's kind of this. I was talking to Nathan, the drummer, about this. I was like, dude, we're like supposed to be friends, but we just don't know each other yet. And we were just kind of cutting up and getting to know each other. I finally got to see them live. Been hearing about them for years from a bunch of people, some really good friends of ours that go and see them all the time. And they blew me away live. They're incredible live. They're super tight. You can tell that they're good friends. They really enjoy playing together. They're really down to earth dudes. And they grind, man. They play a lot and they do their thing and they do it their way. And it's actually kind of I admire that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Definitely refreshing.
Looking forward to playing with those dudes for sure.
Yeah. They're an excellent band. And I find it kind of interesting when I look at, not really the demographics, I guess you could say demographics of the music, but from like Missouri to the Bayou over to Texas, it's just so unique, like Whiskey Myers, that's kind of the bluegrass country. Then you got Magnolia Bayou, which is kind of like bluesy rock. And then you got Zeta, which is like bluesy jazz rock.
You get some spices, you get these local spices and I love that. Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to see the Mississippi to the Bayou, whatever you want to call that area. Just the different, like you said, flavors and styles that come out. And, it just, and you guys are from that area and you have that distinctive, like we said earlier, the modern rock with a little bit of vintage. And I would even, some little bluesy vibes in there here and there. So.
Yeah, for sure. Some of the like kind of slower jams that we have are definitely a little more Southern sounding, like The Reckoning or, there's a few.
There's a twang that starts to occur.
Yeah, there's definitely a little Southern influence.
Yeah, and on the new stuff coming up, like you were saying, Brigade, Last of the Light Brigade is just kind of, we're starting to trickle this music out. Obviously, things are getting busy, but we've got several cool songs that we're pretty proud of, out of the studio, and we're just wanting to get them out there this year. And working towards that, finding the right people to help us work towards that and whatnot. So, like he's saying, we try to walk this world that, has a reverence to like Allman Brothers, Metallica, Pink Floyd, these greats that have graced us, in the past. Because, I think both of us are just huge classic rock fans when you look at it. Like, anytime we get in a rehearsal, it's like, hey, I want to play something. Do you know how to jam this one yet? And it's like, if not, it's there on the spot. Because he played in some great bands before us even. And I've been lucky enough to kind of get around and just be able to play with a few people here and there, and do my own thing. I do a lot of acoustic shows, while we're not doing this stuff. And the album, I guess, I'm just really excited about it because we've got a lot of videos and just the music itself. I think we got some stuff some old fans are going to be dying to hear, and then some new fans are going to be like, what? So,
yeah. And you have a very large I can't say the word, but a very large portfolio.
No, we're disco guys.
Right. Going back to 2012. Sorry, folks.
We still play a lot of those songs too. That's the cool thing. Like we have the luxury of picking a different set list every night and throwing in a 10-year-old song along with a song that we just put out a month ago.
Yeah, we're pretty anal about not doing the same set twice, like ever. Yeah. It's like we really try hard to just always throw something different in there. because you're saying like a lot of songs to choose from. Of course, we want to play the new stuff. Like that's like where we're at, and sometimes it's like we want to play stuff that we can't even play yet. But it's nice and refreshing to be able to like hey, let's throw this one in the night.
Shit, dude, we'll come up with a set list like 30 minutes before the set, and then it'll change 3 minutes before we go on. So that happens all the time.
See, I would just put it in like a random generator and just like, yeah. But yeah, definitely check them out, folks. Some of my favorite older songs, you got Fate, Love, Hate, Death. Caught in the Fire. So definitely taking that. Caught in the Fire was 2012 album with 9 songs on it. 2008 was it? Yeah, 2008. 9 songs effective immediately. So you have some from 2008 steady all the way up to your current release. So that's
totally, man. It's hard being an independent band, but it's also a blessing. But to raise funds album after album, takes time. The pandemic was pretty rough on us, but it's almost like somebody hit the reset button, which is great. And, we had to sit just a little longer on this new music. But again, we're excited. I think our Troy fans are excited. And for anybody listening out there, I mean, you can keep up with us on all of our socials. Like he was saying, it's, hashtag the reality of yourself. But we haven't put out the album name yet, but I know we've been getting our artwork back and all that good stuff, so super excited.
So tell the folks what the meaning behind the name is, the reality of yourself.
Well, it kind of can mean anything for you, as an individual. I usually have to take and answer this question. It's a pretty big question within our band realm. For me, like, I think we all manifest our own reality. Like there is I don't know how it works. I don't pretend to. I study about it, but it's like I think there's this interface where we can actually, work to manifest our goals and dreams within this life, or this realm. And the band has always been a lot about that. Again, our bass player, Kane Ransom, a talker, to say the least. But we've had many of hours and hours long conversations, about life, the universe, and everything. And through that, I think we've both, and several other people, have come to this conclusion that like you are in control, even though we may not know how to use the tools yet. But there is this correlation, this interaction happening. And for me, the band really is a statement of that. There's great speakers, like Greg Braden and David Wilcock and many others, who really can put it in more poignant terms than I as a singer. But
yeah, that's a pretty good blanket statement for kind of where we all are with just the idea of the reality of yourself, for sure.
And I must say, I appreciate you, Eric, because you are the most talkative drummer I've had, and it makes my job so much easier. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'm actually like the talker a lot of times.
Yeah, I'm pretty reclusive. I keep to myself, a little introverted, and thank God for Eric.
And a lot of the drummers, they're used to being, back behind, not behind the stage, obviously, but, in the back, and they just kind of do their thing. And so it's refreshing to have someone I don't have to pick, questions from. So,
well, like I said in the beginning, I'm the good looking one. So
we established that
to be here, and I've just sharpened my people skills.
So over the years, I don't know if you're married or have a girlfriend, but, over the years, he's become the ladies' man, and that's helped him out tremendously. So,
oh yeah. Yeah. Beat him up with a stick.
I wish I had the bound chicka wow wow on my board, but I don't.
Actually, my wife beats him off with a stick now, but yeah.
Okay, all right. So, ladies, he is married, so he is off the market. But you can look, you can't touch. You can browse the menu, but you can't order. So there you go. But so also, you guys had something super cool happen. A multi-platinum producer got wind of you guys and kind of picked you up and started working with you. And that is Jay. I can't say his last name.
Bumgardner.
Okay. Yeah, I would totally butcher that. So he's well known obviously out there, and he's a multi-platinum producer. So how's that feel working? Working with such a producer with on a scale like that.
You go ahead, buddy.
Man,
Drum City.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, when you walk into NRG Studio in North Hollywood, it's breathtaking to begin with, because you walk in and there's just a wall of platinum records, and it's not just platinum records. It's like Linkin Park and Rob Zombie and No Doubt and Godsmack and just all this, these huge rock records. And you're taken back by that, and then everybody that's stepped foot in there and recorded there, and the stories that are there, and then you get into the actual work of it, and the A-room studio, the live room there is just, I mean, there's no better live room in my opinion. It sounded incredible. They had this like 68 Ludwig Bonham kit, maple shells, totally vintage and beautiful, and they had this guy just totally work it, and it sounded incredible and felt amazing. I mean, it was really a really awesome experience that I hope that we get to do that a little bit more down the road for sure.
Yeah, I mean, so like there's several of those songs from those sessions that are coming out on this record, which we're really excited about. And like he's saying, like just that, the fact that we all four got to like record in a room together, as close as possible, that was really neat to me. Again, the process was pretty old school, and it made you appreciate a lot of the subtleties and nuances, because again, the music lives between the notes sometimes, and like that's where the magic happens.
That's probably one of the only times that we've gone into a room with a producer and actually, I mean,
that much gear ready.
Jay literally sat down and was like, "All right, guys, play me the hits."
Yeah.
And we were like, okay. And then he played, 4 or 5 like bones of songs that we had, just like ideas, like a verse and a chorus. And then he'd be like, okay, let's go with that one. And then we just start
trying different keys, trying, what was going to work and what wasn't. And then, the next day it's like everybody strap up and same thing, sit right down and just go after it.
It's really probably the only time that we've gotten to do, other than stuff here.
Yeah. That was really a big inspiration for me to come back home. And I was like, I have to figure out how to get us into that setting, more often, because again, you can't afford to rent a studio for a year. I mean, I guess some bands can, and that's a blessing. We can't, so we're building our own, every day it's like something else added to the machine that is Troy. It's pretty hilarious on levels.
Yeah.
But I feel like, again, we don't want to stop. I think all of us want to put out music for life. And you talk about, getting settled with what you got. I don't think that's anybody in our group. I think we're all, pushing for more and wanting that.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's the best way to go about it. Keep pursuing greatness. And back to the studio with all the platinum records and that, I wouldn't have made it into, I'd have been like, hey, give me an hour. Let me just browse around. Let me just take in the scenery. But, I find it fascinating, just like, when you go in the studio and what they can do, like, oh, play this. And then, a song comes about. It's crazy to me when I think about it sometimes, when they have these massive, 30-foot long boards and all these keys, and I'm a squirrel, so I'm like, well, I can't pay attention for long, so I'm like,
and the beautiful thing is, there's thousands of dollars within each preamp of those channels, to where, if I was trying to set the boys up with 16 channels of Neve preamps, I'm looking at a good 30-40K quick. We just can't go get that anywhere else. So it was a big blessing, dude, to run through Pultex, original LA2s, 2As. All of that, it changed it for me, because again, the analog circuitry adds color, it adds character to things, and honestly, our ears are all accustomed to that and want that. You know, we want that warmth, that saturation, and those old school boys knew how to do it, man.
Yeah, I think while we were there, a lot of the mindset of the guys that were there, Kyle, the main engineer, and Jay, was less is more. So it was a lot more about the performance and getting the right tone and getting the right performance, and then rather than just coloring it up with a bunch of effects and studio magic and stuff like that. It was the stuff that we did there was very raw in a way, but like more powerful in a lot of ways too, because it was just good songs being played well. So.
And I loved like the vintage style, like the old school classic rock. And I remember when I was younger, the voice box, I think it is, where they talk.
Oh yeah.
That was so fascinating. That was my favorite thing.
Hey, well, we've got a couple singles you're gonna love then coming out soon. Like you just said like two things, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna like these next two songs.
Yeah, Kyle does it all the time. Yeah, Kyle always has a talk box on stage. So.
Yeah, those are awesome. I still love them, but as a kid, I was just super fascinated, like, jaw drop, like what, obviously.
Totally.
I still don't totally get it, how it works, right? But I'm a drummer, so.
At that time, I was too young to really like comprehend. I'm like, how's he talking? How's he singing like that? Obviously, dumb kid, but whatever. So what's in the future for Troy? I know you guys plan on doing any Battle of the Bands or any tours. What's coming up?
Last of the Light Brigade's kind of on this new chart system, the Black Craft with Space Zebra. We won a few things through Space Zebra last year, which was really cool. And I would like to say, we're working on just releasing our next single and kind of playing the field. We would love to get on maybe a small tour too this fall, just to kind of prep and help and get this album out is kind of the main game plan. I know I do have to go out, with shamans here for about 30, 40 days. And so in my mind, I'm editing videos and doing some other things in the background. And we're just booking shows and trying to get this next single ready. Cause, it was like 3 weeks ago we went out, and I think, in my opinion, we shot like one of the most fun, cool videos we've ever done, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's just a neat experience, again, recording wise and just getting it all, trying to put it all together. So, but
just to give you a little hint, we got a friend that had this kick-ass barn on a 10-acre farm, and we shot a video in it, and it ended up looking really cool. So
yeah, I mean, it's over 100 years old. They had a lot of it was just awesome.
Yeah, the barn had a pretty cool history itself. So
yeah, you're talking about an old old country farm boy that grew up around farms doing stupid stuff. So
I'm saying, and
there's so many ideas that could go through.
There's a vibe too, especially with rock and roll. It's a little missed, I think, and again, bands like Rival Sons and others, I think they're keeping that shit alive, for me personally.
For sure.
And how can we support the reality of yourself for the folks listening on the podcast in the future? Where can we find you at?
We're on a lot of the major outlets. The best way to support us is to go follow our Spotify and our YouTube channel. If you can keep up with us on Facebook, Instagram, we just started the TikTok, and again, we are gearing up to release more music. You can definitely, Shazam us. You can find us on iTunes, Apple Music, all that good stuff. Usually under The Reality of Yourself, and Troy. And then we do have a website, therealityofyourself.com as well, that leads to merch and some other cool little tidbits. So through all those little veins, you can come support us, man, and become part of the journey. Because like I said, there's a lot to come, and we're just like gonna get started.
Awesome. Yep. So there you go, folks. TheRealityOfYourself.com, Spotify, IG, they are all over. Looking forward to the new album. So leading up to the new album, do you guys plan on doing, I know the big thing now is, doing 1, 2, or 3 singles of the album, releasing up to the album release. Is that where you're planning, or?
Pretty close. Yeah. We're basically mending to the mold of the times, which, I think is better for the consumer. That way they don't have to get bogged down. And you get this trickle effect of, maybe your favorite band's putting some stuff out, and you get to experience this rise, so to speak. But I mean, it probably more than anybody else. It's hard right now. People's lives matter. Priorities are different, and so sometimes we're not a pushy band. We don't like to just shove and shove our stuff down people's throats. That's tough, I think, and kind of gross. But same time, we'll humbly tell you where we're at and come check us out, because you come to a show, you'll probably have a good time.
Absolutely. And I'm just excited that live music is coming back. I was down in the Keys for the Songwriters Fest last week. Next week I'll be in Daytona for Welcome to Rockville, and it's just refreshing to be back out and surrounded by friends and just having a good time again. So
right.
Well, come say hey at Welcome to Rockville, man.
Definitely, I will check you out. Are you guys
Yeah,
playing?
I'll be there.
I'm playing with Shamans. Gosh, I don't know our set time. I think it's like 3:30 on Thursday, maybe Friday.
Definitely,
but
we'll certainly check that out.
It's been a wild week this week, to tell you the truth. all these dates are coming, and I just kind of look at it like, okay, we'll just deal with that one at a time.
Yeah. And are we doing that battle with Space Zebra for?
I'm not for sure what's happening there. I think we are in it currently, though. I know there's like a top 10 chart thing, or top 13. Yeah. For Space Zebra, which is a really cool, if any listeners don't know, a Twitch channel last year basically blew up. Danny Wimmer Presents, who does a lot of these shows, they created this channel, especially during quarantine times, and it's been a great promotional tool and honestly introductory tool for new rock music, which I feel like they were hitting something that, I mean, obviously UC is missing within our industry, or at least needs more love and attention.
And so streamed a lot of the festival stuff.
Yeah.
Welcome to Rockville. They did really good streams of all that. Few of the main stages there, and those have been really, really cool to us. Really good relationship there. We definitely hope to continue that in the next year, and as long as they'll have us. So
yep.
Yeah, I mean, super proud of you guys and guys like you and them who are just pushing the envelope, for rock music. It means a lot, and nothing to the old heads, because that stuff's great, I mean, a lot of reverence, but I think some of these new bands, just deserve time and attention.
Yeah, and it's kind of astounding how much talent is out there that's undiscovered or unsigned, just between Space Zebra and shows like that. It's like, holy cow, like, there's so many bands I found that I would have never found listening to shows such as, and I know they're doing a running top 13 chart. They're in the the final four for Louder Than Life, and then after they finish this final four, I believe they're starting another bracket,
right?
For each month for Louder Than Life. So there'll be four unsigned bands, if I'm correct, that get picked up and get to play at Louder Than Life. So yeah, I know all you got to do is submit your stuff to Jake or producer Jake, and see if you get in there. So.
And yeah, we were talking JJ, who's basically our tour manager, dude who really helps out a lot with Troy. We didn't know because there's several different brackets leading up to that Louder Than Life, I believe. So I do believe we're going to be in it. I would hate to say yes without doing it, but I know we've been talking a lot about it, and it's on our minds because those guys are great. And again, new bands. We've met several cool bands at Welcome to Rockville last year because of Space Zebra. We got honorable, we got runner up, and then they're just like, hey, we love these guys. If there's one band we can pick, let's bring these guys to Rockville, which was like, oh crap, this is awesome. Wow. And then we won this all-star bracket at the end of the year, which, we got to stream live from right here in the studio, out, with bands of the likes of like All That Remains, some dudes from Tesseract, some really great acts.
And that was all for charity.
Yeah, and raised a ton of good money for a good cause. So I can't speak highly enough about what they're trying to do. It takes a lot of energy, it.
Yeah, and we want to be a part of that and help in any way that we can. So that's always what's good for them is good for us, and vice versa. So why not do whatever we can to participate in whatever they're doing. So
yeah, and most importantly, what I like seeing is the bands. Even on this last, the Elite Eight. There's so much talent out there, and these bands are like, man, this band is so talented. Like, we should do a collab. So it's
totally, yeah. That's what should be happening,
right? Instead
all
of
the
fighting
time,
each other, like work with each other and build everybody up. So it's really refreshing to kind of see that these bands are like, hey, let's jam together, let's do something together, instead of like, oh, you beat me, F you, type of thing. But
right, because and it's hard to remember, but there is no competition in art. Besides with yourself, probably. But I commend anybody who's getting out there and trying to do this right now. It's one of the hardest things to do in the world is to be in a band right now, in America. Like, I can say that for sure. Like,
oh yeah,
I'm sure it's harder in other places too. So don't let me wipe my brow on that. But like, I commend anybody getting after it, because the grind is real, and it matters, and it should matter to you deeper than a cervical reason.
Absolutely. So a little food for thought there, folks.
Get after it.
Take with you. You can do anything you want to, as long as you put your mind to it and stick with it. Hey, fail is the first attempt in learning. So if you fail the first time, keep on trying. So
it's true, man. I always tell the boys, it ain't how you fail, it's how you succeed, or it ain't how you succeed, it's how you fail.
Yep.
And
we've failed plenty.
Yeah.
So
we all have been there, and
you ain't swinging, you ain't trying.
Right? Yep. Build your character and keeps you, pushing forward. So I appreciate you guys coming on this episode. Any final departing words? Well, actually, another cool fact of the band, you guys have opened up for Korn, some huge bands. So what are some of the bands that you've opened up for? Breaking Benjamin, I think.
Yeah. Gosh, it's a slew of them. Korn was crazy. That was one of the craziest ones. They're on another level. And I think Breaking Ben's getting there too, to be honest. But there's been so many. Like, who's?
Man, some of my favorites that we played with, probably Nothing More.
Oh yeah. Which they're in KC tonight. They're just starting their new tour.
I'm actually going to see them tomorrow night. Them in Asking Alexandria in Oklahoma, I think. God, who else? Blackstone Cherry. We played with those guys a few times. They're always so good live.
Skillet was just kind of surreal, and how powerful and great those humans all are. Like beyond the music and in the music.
And we got to know the guys from Devour the Day on that tour pretty well, and those guys were just some of the best dudes. And obviously a fantastic band. They were awesome live every night. That's the other thing. Like, there's bands that I wouldn't normally, go and put it on for myself, but then we play with them and I'm like in love with them because they're just such good people. You know what I mean? It happens all the time.
And live music, man, it's something different. Like
it definitely changes you. Like, I don't feel like just hearing a song on the radio or hearing it like playing, in your car or something like that is enough. Once you actually go and see a band and maybe shake a hand or two, it changes your life.
Yeah, I'm definitely visual, so stage presence, all that stuff. And a band that comes to mind when they first kind of broke the scene, Fever 333, they played at Welcome to Rockville 4 or 5 years ago. And they had such a great stage presence. They knocked it out. And not talking bad about any bigger bands, but I mean, they outperformed some of the bigger bands. So I was like, damn, these guys are good.
I've been following their drummer for a long time. Our bass player Kane follows him a lot too. He's got a bunch of side projects and stuff, but he is a killer back there.
The energy, is
just insane. I mean, I get exhausted just watching him sometimes because I'm like, how do you do all that and then do it so well and flawlessly? You know what I mean? So it's super impressive.
And so last question. Well, I mean, this is a loaded, kind of tricky question. So past or present, who would you want to collab with or perform with?
Past or present?
Like, are we talking songwriting or just playing a show?
Either or.
Dude.
Even adding more pressure, right?
I mean,
a big one for me personally would be Tom Petty, for sure.
It's a good one. Yeah. I
just even get to see him play. I didn't get to see him play. I missed him a few times, and then he was gone. So,
gosh, man, I don't know. Part of me is like, I would go back and, grab a John Lennon or a Greg Allman, pretty quick, because I feel like they had a lot of songs left in them, But and then part of me is like, I would take Paul McCartney right now.
Dave Grohl.
I'd take him right now, and but within our scene, within the rock and roll scene, boy, I mean, I'd love to do something with Nate from Shaman's Harvest. To be honest, man, he's one of my favorite vocalists I've ever known. Brent Smith, something weird would be cool. I mean, I would go little country with Stapleton or something like that. If a collab like that would be super fun, or Tyler Childers, stuff like that. But I don't know. Yeah, David Grohl would be sick. That is so loaded. I mean, there's a loaded baked potato.
There's a lot.
Have a whole show. But I mean, it's pretty cool to go into Rockville this year because my first band or my first. I mean, I grew up going to like country festivals and different things like that. But my first actual real experience was Korn and Rob Zombie, 1999. And I just remember when they hit the bass and it was like, my whole body just shook. And then the next concert was Kiss. So the only one we're missing at Rockville this year is Rob Zombie.
He was there last year.
Right.
So we got Kiss this year and Korn. We're just missing Rob Zombie to have my trio of my first 2 real rock concerts. So.
Well, that's pretty cool though, man. I got to say, our guitar player, Kiss is like his number one. I mean, and if it wasn't for Kiss, he wouldn't have been in the garage learning all these songs all the time. And, it really inspired him. And I can't thank God for it because his moves probably come from that scene, but you wouldn't see it suspected of him really,
Yeah. Different guy on stage for sure.
Awesome. So we will catch Shaman's Harvest in Daytona for Welcome to Rockville. And you can look up Troy, therealityofyourself.com for shows coming near you. It's been a pleasure having you on this episode. And any final departing words for the fans out there?
Just thank you guys for tuning in. Donnie, thank you for having us. Yep. And we definitely look forward to doing it again, man.
Yep. See you all down the road.
Alrighty. And that's going to conclude this episode, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope we pleasured your ear holes just a bit. Hopefully we made them moist. But until next time, keep it sloppy.
Super sloppy.